The sun shone over Commerce Square, warm and bright, while the glass of ice-cold wine in my hand reminded me of the world I had left behind. Then my phone buzzed, shattering the calm. It was Brooke. She wasn't just upset, she was screaming. "They're calling the police!" she yelled. "Strangers are in my condo!" I didn't need to ask what happened. She had used the emergency key, meant only for fire or flood, to move herself and her boyfriend into a property I sold just 2 weeks ago. I didn't gasp or panic. I simply took another slow sip of my Vinho Verde. Before I explain how my family tried to take over my life from across the ocean, I want to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment. It helps me understand our community. To understand why I didn't scream or panic, you need to know my past. You need to understand the guilt that shaped me for 32 years in Seattle. The rain there wasn't just weather, it was heavy. It soaked into my life, weighing me down. My parents, Richard and Maggie, didn't raise a home filled with love. They built one based on utility. I wasn't their daughter in their eyes, I was a load-bearing wall. My purpose? Stand strong and silent, holding everything up so Brooke could enjoy life without consequences. They called it family duty. I called it a long con. The proof wasn't hidden. It sat in the driveway. On Brooke's 16th birthday, she got a brand new SUV worth $36,000. I remember because I saw the paperwork while making my lunch. When I turned 16, Richard gave me a bus schedule and a lecture on the environmental impact of unnecessary driving. He called it character building. This pattern continued with other things. Brooke had private tutors, SAT prep courses costing thousands, and eventually a private college tuition of $215,000 over 4 years, all paid for by my parents. For me, they invested in my resilience. I worked 3 jobs while earning my degree, scanning groceries until 2 a.m., sleeping 4 hours, and attending class. When I graduated with honors and 0 help, they didn't celebrate my success. They celebrated that I was low maintenance. Their favorite compliment? Clara doesn't need us. They were right. I didn't need them. But they desperately needed me. Over time, I became a UX researcher, studying human behavior and optimizing systems. I used that skill on my own family. I realized I wasn't a person to my parents. I was a safety net, a portfolio designed to catch Brooke whenever she fell. Then came my condo. I bought it 2 years ago, a modern space downtown with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the Sound, paid entirely from my hard-earned bonuses and stock options. It was my sanctuary. But the moment my parents visited, I saw their eyes. They didn't see my home. They saw an asset. Maggie ran her hand over the quartz countertop. "This is so much space for one person," she said. "Isn't it almost wasteful?" Richard nodded from the balcony. "Good investment. Good for the family." They didn't see my name on the deed. They saw a guest room for Brooke or a backup plan for their business. When I got a job offer in Lisbon, I knew exactly what would happen. If the condo sat empty for even a month, they would move in, guilt me, and turn my sanctuary into a crash pad for Brooke. I realized then that the guilt I carried wasn't natural. It was built by them, brick by brick. I knew the only way out was complete control. The Lisbon job wasn't just a career move, it was my lifeline. My first thought wasn't excitement, it was panic. Who would pay Brooke's rent? Who would handle my parents' tech problems? My competence hadn't disabled my family, it had instructed them. I had created a vacuum of ability. Brooke was entitled and incapable. My parents were helpless without me. I made a plan. I sold the condo off-market. I moved my life into boxes under the guise of routine packing. When asked about the condo, I lied with ease. Property management company, corporate tenants only, strict lease, no family allowed. 2 weeks before leaving, I handed the keys to Mark and Claire Anderson, young, excited, imagining their new life. Signing those papers felt like amputating a part of myself, but it was freedom. I flew to Lisbon with 2 suitcases, leaving my ghost house behind. I thought I had outsmarted them. Then Brooke's call came. Her screams filled the line. My parents had driven her to the condo, helped her carry boxes, and completely ignored the truth. My property was family property to them, not mine. I called Mr. Anderson. Brooke is screaming. The police are on the way. I put them on speaker. Brooke's voice shrieked. You can't kick me out. Mom and Dad said I could stay. Brooke, I said, steady. I sold it. You are trespassing. Silence. Brooke sounded small. Clara, she whispered. You are trespassing, I repeated. Leave now. The police arrived, and within 20 minutes, the eviction was complete. All coordinated from across a continent. I didn't cry. I poured another glass of wine. The sunset over the Tagus River shimmered golden, and for the first time, I felt completely free. Then my phone rang. Dad. It was time for the exit interview. Richard, Maggie, and Brooke appeared on my screen. They looked furious, like a living indictment. We demand an explanation, Richard barked. I think you're confused, I said calmly. I didn't break into anyone's home. Brooke did. You set a trap, Maggie shrieked. You humiliated your sister. She was arrested. Traumatic, I said. Is that traumatic? Trespassing into a stranger's home? Facing arrest? Brooke wailed. You knew I needed a place. I sold it because I'm moving. It's not about you. Not everything is about you. Richard shouted. Family helps family. That condo was a resource. I looked at them. They weren't sad. They were furious at losing a resource. I switched into project manager mode. I don't owe you the house. I don't owe you an apology. I'm sending an invoice for the locksmith, cleaning, and hotel nights. This is the last assistance you'll get from me. They couldn't argue. I hung up. My hands shook, but not from fear, from adrenaline. I had just fired my parents. I ordered another glass of wine and watched the sun dip below the horizon. I thought I was done. Then my email pinged. My former boss in Seattle. Urgent. Mark Anderson, the same person who now owned my former condo, was the CFO of Pinnacle Group, my father's biggest client. This was no longer a family problem, it was a professional disaster. My father begged me to lie, take the blame, and save the account. For a second, old habits of saving them crept back. Then I thought of the vacuum I had created. If I saved them again, nothing would change. I won't lie for you. I won't fix your mistakes. You must learn. I hung up, blocked their numbers, silence. 6 months later, I have no contact, no obligations, no emergencies, and they have learned to survive without me. Brooke now works a real job at a dental office. My parents have downsized. They are functioning. I sit at a small table in Lisbon, eating pastel de nata, drinking espresso. I am alone. No family, no obligations. It doesn't feel like punishment. It feels like victory. For the first time, I breathe freely. I built a life that fits me, not theirs. I am selfish. I am solitary. I am free. If you've ever had to burn a bridge to save yourself, like this story, hit the like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more stories about claiming freedom. Thanks for listening.